and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Brent Smith. I have Brian Joubert on camera with me. We have Jamie and Viam out on the other vehicle, and a very exciting start to the Sunset Safari. We're busy trying to get you a view of the first baby impala seen on Djuma. We spent a lot of the morning looking for one without success, and not even 5 minutes out of the gates today, and we've spotted one. I'm quite sure it's been born during the day today. It is a little bit skittish, so we start trying to keep a little bit back. And where's it gone? It is there, I do promise you that. We're just going to try to keep our distance a little bit and move around the edge. Try to get a view of the baby through the bushes. I think we're going to get a nice little gap over here right now. There it is. You ready, Brian? How's that? Can you see him? Oh, her?
Yeah, just.
There we go. There we go. The first little baby. Probably been born during the last sort of 4 or 5 hours between the safaris. Still a little bit nervous, so we're not going to try put pressure on it just yet. Very young in life. We'll see if we can get another view. Oh, it's disappearing into the thickets. So I think we're going to leave it be, but there we go. Very happy to have a success to that after driving half the roads in Djuma this morning with no success. So what a fantastic way to start the Sunset Safari. Hopefully it can only get better from here. And if any of you are new viewers out there, not only are we alive in the African bush, you are seeing things at exactly the same time as us, we also are interactive. You're able to ask us questions. So if you've ever pondered, wondered, or thought about things you might encounter on Safari, please feel free to ask me or Jamie, and you can do that through 2 platforms. You can send us an email on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Now, normally when you break that baby impala duck, you start seeing them all over the place. So hopefully we'll be able to see one that's in a bit more of an open area a little bit later on the safari. And these ladies look really ready to pop. See, great timing with that little bit of rain. Nice flush for the females to keep healthy while they have to lactate. So no one managed to find the Salala Pride last night. There were tracks around Sibambili Dam, which is just to the north of our western traverse area, Arathusa. So I'm hoping a little bit of lady luck and some decent tracking skills are going to stead us in good fast this evening, and we're going to take a little meander into that area, see if we might come up with some tracks where the others didn't. It has been a nice cool day, so it is possible those lines have moved throughout the day, and who knows, maybe they're sitting nice and tight in the drainage line with a buffalo. You got the Bassus, Brian? Mm-hmm. So we've got a tiny little bird there, really, really pretty bird called a chin spot Bassus. Oh, and it disappeared before I could get my binos onto it to see if it was a male or a female. So I know quite a few of the viewers out there keep bird lists. And we have a new viewer, Bill. Bill Maxey, welcome to Safari Live, Bill. And, you can hear there's quite a few Bassus around there. It almost sounds like there might be an alarm calling at something. Could be a snake, could have been a slender mongoose getting through. So let's go have a quick look what that little bird party is upset about. So Bill, welcome. welcome to the Safari Live family. And please ask us questions. We really do enjoy hearing from you guys. And don't forget to let us know whereabouts in this very wide world you're from, Bill. Okay, we've got a few birds around here. And there's hopping around. Birds are always more of a challenge than the bigger, scarier things. Have you got them, Brian? And he flew off into that quarry. Can you hear that very high-pitched tweet, which is probably one of the harder sort of birds to get on camera. It's one of the small little waxbills or firefinches. I'm going to see if I can spot them now. Looks like they've done a disappearing act. Now this is very interesting. Now we've got a guarri tree here that almost looks like it's been burnt. And it hasn't. There's been no fires, even though it has been very, very dry. And this is really, really fascinating. The tree is alive, but it is busy being killed by mold. So you can see that this mold is completely taken over, and it actually looks like the tree has been burnt by lightning or struck by lightning, and it hasn't. And you can still see there's some little green leaves shooting through. Oh, there's a lost ant, but you can see these globules, and it's not uncommon. Quite a few different tree species out here are attacked by mold. There's even a species of mold which kills more baobabs than elephants. So one of the biggest threats to a baobab is mold, and it's very unusual. It's the first time I've seen it at Djuma, but I have seen it all over in other places. But it's actually destroying, and you've got to wonder why this particular guarri. I mean, there's guarris all around us, and the elephants have broken this down a bit, but I can't see any particular reason. Maybe the soil here, or maybe this is just where the mold started. And I mean, even if we take a leaf, it's starting to completely encase the leaves. So really, really fascinating. And I'm definitely going to have to do a bit more research on mold attacking trees. So hopefully I'll have some more info for you about that tomorrow. Definitely not something we see every day. Very strange. When I first saw it from a bit of a distance, I wondered if it had been struck by the lightning with all the lightning we've been having. As soon as we got a bit closer, you could see it definitely wasn't lightning. And there's guarri bushes all around. It's just this one that's infected. It's going to be quite interesting to come back, check this area, see if this mold does spread to the other trees of the same species in the area. So it looks like it might be, is that just a dark shadow, or does it look like it's starting on this guarri over here as well? What do you think, Brian? Can you get close in there? No, I think that's just a little bit darker, that guarri, because it's protected from the sun by the others. And while we're here, you can see the weeping wattles are in flower. Very pretty yellow flowers with that bright orange center. And their flowering will have coincided with the rain. And on hot sunny days, you find this tree will be absolutely abuzz with insects. Many different species of wasp, and there is an insect there, an ant. I can't see which species of ant. But on a nice hot sunny day, you will find probably up to 50 or 60 species of insects utilizing these flowers, lots of different wasps and robber flies and bees. So I definitely will be keeping an eye out on all the flowering plants. Insects are such fascinating creatures, and there are so many different types, and they are literally everywhere. since I got back, our lucky run with Karula started right here on this very road, and this is what road's sort of the traditional boundary between Shadow, Karula's daughter, and herself, and Shadow off to the west and Karula to the north and east. And it looks like these rudimentary boundaries have started being set back in place. So very interesting. Shadow seems to be keeping more to the west and Karula to the east and north. Our new viewer Bill is actually coming to stay at WildEarth Safari Lodge this weekend. Lucky you, Bill. So you should see us out and about on the game drives. Send a wave and I'm sure we'll say hello. We've just left that really interesting sort of mold that's growing. Oh, impala, that's a boy. That was growing on that quarry bush, and Paul's wondering. He says it looks really, really nasty, and he's wondering whether it would affect any of the browsers that feed on it. Well, Paul, to be completely honest, I can't be 100% sure on that. I have my doubts. I don't think it would. I probably think you would find the browsers would avoid it. Also, the guarri bush is not a very commonly browsed bush. Generally, we'll only see elephants and giraffe and things like that eat it when they don't really have too many other options. It's not a very nutrient-rich bush, and it grows on very sort of wet soils where predominantly the good feeding ground around guarris will be grasses rather than the bushes themselves. So I'm not sure, but when I get home tonight and I get a chance to have a look at about mold that kills bushes, maybe we'll find out. If anyone out there knows anything about molds that kills trees or bushes, and if you feel like researching it and giving me a helping hand, please do. And if you have any answers to that, send that through to questions@wildearth.tv on email, or just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So we've got an update from one of our viewers who watches the dam cameras, and they said there was a weird sort of splattering noise, sounded like growling and scattering of impalas at the dam. Which dam, next dimension, was it the Juma or the Arathusa one? Please let us know. Also, it could have possibly been impala. They can make some really incredibly strange noises. Was there a lot of snorting very shortly after that sort of strange growling or snarling sound? Was it sort of like... It was like that. That's possibly male impala having a little bit of an argument. But if it was anything more serious, guys, keep watching those dam cams, because if you do spot something, we'll zoom straight there to go follow up. Oh, looks like someone's been taking advantage of the mud wallow and spreading it onto the road. Looks like it was more than likely buffalo. So we're going to keep on our mission to try to find the Tsalala Pride. While we do that, the lovely Jamie is with the Queen of Juma.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the jigger part of your sunset safari. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I have started my afternoon deeply and bitterly disappointed at the lot that life has thrown me in. or thrown at me. Now, just before we left, Brent and I had something of a bet going as to who would find the first baby impala, and I think he cheated because he got there before we even went live. So I find myself a deeply saddened woman on the start of your Sunset Safari. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie. I have VM on camera with me this afternoon as we sit with the ever-present and somewhat corpulent Queen of Djuma, who is looking so round and so exhausted, I don't think she can move. Well, this is probably the last afternoon that we're going to be spending with her around quarantine. The kill is pretty much finished and starting to smell. I think it'll probably be time for our Queen Karula to move on, once she, of course, can actually move. Because at the moment, that stomach is very round and very distended and rather full of impala. And she is... Oh, hello, girl. Oh. Big stretch. Yes, I know the feeling. She actually looks a bit like I feel after our chef's amazing bobotie that we all had for lunch. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with traditional South African cuisine, bobotie is a curried mince with egg on top and raisins included to combine the sweet and savory taste. Stretched out with pores in air. You see the panting that's happening. We've been watching that for the last 3 days. It's a combination of the fact that, first of all, her lungs are a bit squashed due to this very full nature of her stomach, but also the fact that that digestive process of all of that meat is releasing an excessive amount of metabolic heat. So she's very warm, even though it is a fairly cold afternoon. So she's panting to cool herself down a little bit. And wrapped around the large fruited bush willow that she is. Now, of course, we have spoken about this before, and there's quite a strong belief that when they are this full, by lifting their paws and resting it on a tree, it helps to relieve... Oh, I think she's got some indigestion. In fact, she almost... Interesting. Bless you, Karula. I don't think you need to be worried. I think she's trying to cough something up, but she's too lazy to actually roll over. Either that or she's about to throw up all over the place. We'll just have to wait and see for the moment. I think that was that was a sneeze. Hey, big girl. There's something very uncomfortable in your lungs. I'm not sure if you could hear the faint sort of groaning and snuffling noises she was making. Possibly the effects of slight overindulgence. Nothing to worry about. She's up and fine. And perfectly relaxed. Just observing another vehicle that is making its way past the sighting. Itchy ear. I wonder what Queen Karula has planned for her evening. I don't think it will be another evening of excess gluttony. There's not really much left to gorge herself on. She'll probably be up and about. It'll be interesting to see where she goes from here. There is a bonanza on the way for creatures like Karula and the wild dogs, with the impala starting to lamb. I'm still going to stop at every single herd of impala, even if Brent did beat me to it. And I'm going to see if I can spot a baby as well, because I'm so excited and I still haven't seen one. So prepare yourselves all for a tour of the impala herds of Djuma. Well, Barbara, I guess you tuned in a little bit late, and yes, you did miss the first baby. And apparently it was the day that you picked for the birth of the first one, or at least the first viewing of a impala on our live safaris. Well done, Barbara, you were correct. You missed the first impala, which at least means that you can drive along with me and we can pretend that we spotted the first one before Brent. They are out and about on their spindly little legs. It means for Karula that this is definitely the season to be very jolly. Oh, she's a very hot, very tired cat. And she's up. I wonder what she's planning on doing. She is up, but you were right, Paul. She did look as though she was in something of an impala coma. And Natalie, you said it looked like she was about to cough up a hairball. I thought so as well. That's where I thought that entire thing was going. Oh, big yawn. Let's see where she's going before I pick a direction and drive in it. We'll do a big tree scratch. Of course, that is a great way to sharpen and clean out their claw sheaths, which collect all kinds of dirt and debris in there every day. So by stretching them out like that and giving the bark a good scratch, it's a way of just cleaning that out. What you up to, girl? Another big scratch. Hello, beautiful. In that spot, I've actually been watching her scratch the back of her neck since this morning. She was rubbing it on the tree earlier. And she's still scratching behind there. I wonder if she hasn't got an irritating tick that's sitting up there, or possibly even from where those bite marks were and wounds. There we go. We're going up into the air so you can see our queen from a different angle. And I think she's going to go back into the tree, but that's where she's approaching. If you can see the big tree that's right in front of her. There's the kill. That is where the carcass is stashed. She's quite happily walking towards it. How awesome is this? That you get to see her approaching the tree, and she's probably going to disappear from your view very soon. I'm going to try and predict which side of the tree she's going to jump up on. And now you're back on the ground with us and watching her approach the tree. Karula, the flies here are terrible, my girl. Might be time for you to leave the smelly carcass. Not yet. That is a well-fed leopard. Still looking much more lithe than lions do. She's going to go up the tree now, or she's thinking about it. Karula, which side are you going, girl? She's going up into the boughs and back to the place that she's going to settle down. You're going to try and eat some more, girl? Yep. Look at that. Now, I said that she was feeling as full as I was after my lunch, but I don't think I could do that, so maybe not. Well, it seems as though the best view of Karula and where she is the one that comes with the worst part of the smell. We're exactly downwind of her. As you can see, there's not much left of the impala, just essentially a head and some hooves. There we go. Thank you, girl. Oh, a significant portion of the front shoulder that she's munching on now. It's amazing to see how she's broken open the rib cage, and she has actually eaten a lot of bone. I know we always talk about the hyena's ability to munch away. She's also eaten a considerable amount. I'm just going to be quiet for the moment because you can hear her crunching on the bones. Ooh, yummy. She's just ripped off what looked like a rib and is now crunching it. You can see she's getting all the meat off the edges of it. Oh, that whole rib was just swallowed. No wonder she's got indigestion. It's interesting to see. She must have some considerable crushing power in those jaws to be able to do that. You can see her struggling for leverage. It can't be all that easy coordinating your eating when you've got to balance at the same time. Imagine having to climb a tree and then eat your lunch with your mouth only, without a knife and fork. It's no wonder that they lose bits and pieces of the carcass down to the bottom. And that's why hyenas show the amount of patience that they do when they sit under a leopard that's busy finishing off a kill, because they know they're going to get dropped bits and dropped scraps. I heard a woodlands kingfisher. This is so exciting. They're back. Summer is really and truly properly here. And she's decided that that is the best angle to eat at. I might try and shuffle us around unless she turns back to us in the next few moments. Oh, that paw nearly fell over. Paw nearly slipped off the bark. You hear her crunching. Let me try and see if I can get a better view of her face. If you turn around now. Thank you, big girl. Oh, fly. That's what she was snapping at there. Well, the repositioning also comes with the added benefit of the wind blowing in our favor, so we can enjoy the sighting unsoiled and free from the smell of meat. It's fascinating to watch the way she's using her teeth and which parts of her mouth she's using, if you can. See how she's relying on those molars at the back. She's positioning her mouth side on a lot of the time. There she's got it with her incisors, so at the front. She's also trying to slide her, what's known as the carnassial shear of the molars. It's a scissor-like effect of the back teeth that works very well at shearing meat away. If you watch, she's using that and then a combination of pulling, but she doesn't want to put too much pulling pressure on those canines, obviously. Those are weapons for hunting, not eating. I have repositioned. Oh yeah, we can actually see a little bit of the impala's face if we head down a little bit. And as somewhat gory as that is. Rich King, you were wondering if the leopards ever eat the eyes, and yes, they do. I think in this case she was so distracted by the bonanza of the kill that she hadn't got around to it, but yes, they do eat eyes. Generally though, they will start with, in terms of how they tackle the prey, they will start with the best parts, so the organs that are the most nutrient rich. Those are the bits that they're going to go for first. Liver, kidneys, heart, because they never know when they're going to be interrupted, so it's important that they get the best out of the kill as quickly as possible. They will eat the eyes. Interestingly, it's quite common to find, if there's a carcass in the bush, let's say it's something that's been killed by a snake bite, you quite often find carcasses with eyes missing if they are untouched otherwise. And just to continue on a rather macabre subject, that's because animals or birds like tawny eagles and battaliers, that's their favorite part, and it's also the part that they can get to easily. They don't come with the big, strong beaks of the lacquered-faced vulture or the white-backed vulture that can break open carcasses and get through the skin. So they go through the sensitive parts and the soft parts of the carcass. We saw Karula munching away on the bones, as well as I have seen her eat hooves before. And Chris, you were wondering if it's possible for leopards to get a blockage like that, and yes, it is, although their digestive systems are very well formed, and although they don't have the stomach acid of the same strength that hyenas do, they do have very powerful digestive systems. But I've seen it happen once or twice, more with lions, I must be honest, than leopards, but I'm sure it works in the same way, where I've watched a lion looking a little bit under the weather go off and find some grass, as I'm sure your pet dogs and cats at home have done in the past, and tickle the backs of their throats and then vomit up what in the end turns out to be quite a large piece of hoof or a large shard of bone, that obviously they just get to the point where they feel they can't digest it, so they just vomit it back up. Imagine it works something very similar in leopards. It's important for them to be able to utilize as much of the carcass as they can. As we've seen with Karula, even though this kill is 3 days old, she has stuck with it 4 days nearly. She's been with us this entire time. And I suppose bones have their own goodness in them in terms of the marrow. It's just getting to them. It's nice to see that it's not just hyenas that can utilize it. Oh, Woodland's kingfisher calling again. Crunch. Karula, I'm very impressed by her ability to continue eating. It is admirable in the extreme. As Karula munches away on her carcass, apparently Tim, you're sitting crunching away on carrots and watching her. I commend you for your strength of stomach, and I hope that the sound effects supplement this sighting in an enjoyable way. And enjoy your carrots. Crunch. That last crunch was actually my neck. I don't know if that came through on the microphone, but that was my neck, not the bones. Oh, whoopsie. Dropped it. And that's why hyenas hang out at the back, at the bottom of trees. Ah, interesting question from Mercedes. Dangling over the back end every now and again are the back paws of Karula. And Mercedes, you want to know if they are the same as the front paws. Do they have claws? And then are they similar to lions or the same as lions? The back paws do have claws. What they lack is that fifth dew claw that is attached on the front. The back feet do not have those. They're also slightly smaller than the front paws. And that's because you'll find that in almost all animals. It's because animals carry the majority of their weight on the front of their bodies. So their front feet, whether it's an elephant or a leopard or something like an impala, say, their front feet are slightly bigger than their back feet and slightly rounder. In terms of claw structure, yes, lions and leopards have very similar feet structures. There's something fascinating about the whole paw structure itself. It's known as digitigrade foot posture, and it essentially means that their ankles are where we think of their elbows being, because of the way that their metatarsals, so the bones in their feet, or the metacarpals, the bones in their front feet, have extended upwards to give them that upright posture, and it creates a very silent foot pad, much more highly evolved than the plantigrade foot structure that we have, that flat foot with the heel that also touches the ground. Their heels do not touch the ground. It means there's less surface area. So yes, lions and leopards have the same paw, the same with the front foot has a fifth toe with a dew claw on it. It's the most powerful claw on the front foot. It is very strongly connected in a bone sheath attached to a load of tendons that then contract or relax with the muscles attached to them to unsheath the claws and bring them forward or put them back. Now, the one exception to that, and an animal with a very different foot structure, which of course is one of the reasons why it's set apart from the other two big cats, is a cheetah. Interestingly, a cheetah is one of the few exceptions to where the back feet are bigger than the front feet, and that's for traction and for running. And of course, they have non-retractable claws. And their claws are still sharp and still a force to be reckoned with, but not to the same extent that lions and leopards are. And of course, those claws remain or have evolved to be unretractable to help give them a bit of extra traction and get that speed up that leopards and lions just can't quite match. I believe that Peter Pretorius is on his way. We do have a special passenger on the back, and I believe that we're going to place him back onto Peter's vehicle. I'll see when Peter arrives. He should be here soon. I think I hear his vehicle. So you can all give a big wave to Peter Pretorius as he comes by. We have spent 4 days with this incredible cat. It really is. It was very considerate of her to kindly kill this impala on quarantine and stick around, because we've been treated to the most incredible views of her. It's really quite a phenomenal experience to be able to sit with the same leopard for 4 days in a row and enjoy her presence. She's about maybe 300 meters away from where I live. Well, I said we've been treated to that. And Basica, that might answer your question as to whether or not this was a new kill. Nope, it is still the same one. It's taken her 4 days to get through this impala. It's a lot of meat. Even if this impala doesn't weigh as much as I think it did, let's say it weighs 50 kilograms, Karula maybe weighs 45, although she might weigh a little bit more after her 4-day eating festival. Either way, she's eaten almost her body weight in impala in the last 4 days. And she's still going. That's very Now pulling a little bit with those incisors. Just imagine how deep those roots have to be of her teeth to stop them from being damaged in any way by the amount of force that they're subjected to on a day-to-day basis. Bones and joints and skin are actually not that easy to pull apart. Well, Vanessa, it is fantastic to have you on back of a vehicle with us. Vanessa, you wanted to know how old Karula is. Karula is 11 years old, and she is probably one of the most famous leopards in the world at this point. She's been observed from birth until this stage. She's raised several litters of cubs successfully. She's been incredibly successful as a female, as a mother leopard on her own. She will be 12 around March, apparently. So reaching her older years, but still not what I would consider an old leopard. She's got another 3 or 4 years before she starts qualifying in that respect. Got Peter arriving to come and join us at the sighting in order to do something of a swap. Just going to chat with Peter for one moment. Bear with me. Nikki says she's happy if we do it live. Cool, perfect. Awesome. Perfect. Hello, beautiful. At the point now where I think she's even targeting the bones of the legs as well. Here she goes, using those molars again. It's going to be quiet for now, so you can hear the sound effects that accompany it. And it almost looks as though she's about to lose that impala over the edge of the branch. It is slowly sliding and slipping further down. It's definitely hanging lower than it was. Now this morning, I'm not sure if you were watching, Sandra, but this morning Karula returned back into the tree to guard it from the 2 vultures that were hanging around. And Sandra, you were wondering what will happen to the body once she's done with it. Usually what will happen is the birds will descend, so anything from tawny eagles to hooded vultures and possibly even a white-backed, although there's not that much meat left. And you usually find, especially in a precarious place like this, that the birds will knock the carcass off in the process of feeding, and then any remnants will be picked up and moved and eaten by a passing hyena. So that's generally what occurs. Sometimes you... Oh, she's going to lose it. It's going. Oh, Karula. That's very dignified. There you go. Well done, girl. Not the most graceful of movements, but you did manage to save it. It looked very precarious there for a moment. And Sandra, you do get on the odd occasion bits of carcass that survive in trees for a very long period of time. Obviously the meat rots away, but there was one particular impala leg that I used to see pretty much every day on my way between camps where I used to work, and that was there for about 1.5 years. Just dangling in the tree, so sometimes it doesn't get found or finished off completely. You can see how important that tail is. Watch how stiff it's become and the way that she's using it. It's almost like a counterbalance or a counterweight. And she's found herself a slightly more stable looking position. And the impala looks much more secure the way that she's put it. Now, Michael, as we're watching her devour what's very little meat left on this carcass, Michael, you were wondering if there's any part of the carcass that she won't eat. She won't eat the skull, generally, of something like a large impala. She probably will ignore the hooves, and she might even decide that the legs aren't really worth the effort. That being said, one of my very first sightings with Karula, she was consuming a, what was it? It was a steenbok. And she ate the entire thing in the space of 20 minutes. I went back and had a look after she'd left, and I went back to where she was eating the kill, and from the point that she dragged it to where she ate it, I double-checked everywhere, and all that was left of that steenbok was half a lower jawbone. She'd eaten everything, and some of the fur was gone, but I think she was particularly hungry on that day. There was a little bit of skin and a little bit of fur, but she had eaten almost that entire animal, which was amazing to see. So when they're hungry, they're not too fussy. I think with a large animal like an impala, she's probably going to leave the head and quite possibly the legs. I would guess that she's not going to be around here by tomorrow. She'll move off sometime this evening. And the rest of it will go to the vultures and the hyenas. Some interesting crunching noises. I can't see which part she's feeding on now. I think it might be the shoulder. Now Gracie, who is 8 years old, Gracie is watching us, and Gracie tells us that she's been told that the soul of the animal that Karula is eating is in heaven at the moment, and that all that is left is the shell. And you wanted to know, Gracie, whether the cat will eat all of it. And yes, she will eat all of the shell. The impala ewe is off in a different place, in a better place. And Karula's enjoying her meal, and it's all part of a really important cycle, because although it's sad for us to watch, Karula might be eating for not just herself, she could even be pregnant, and she'll be bringing a new generation of baby leopards for us. So yes, Gracie, and the impala didn't die in vain, because Karula will eat as much of it as she can, and nothing will go to waste out here. It all becomes a source for life. So it will feed lots and lots of different things. Andreen, you're right, there's not much left when this does fall out. It will be just a morsel for them. Now we're hearing all of the crunching noises that are happening. Diane, you were wondering if leopards or hyenas ever break their teeth when they're eating. Yes, it's a possibility. It's unlikely, but it does happen. It's usually the older animals, when they start to age and their teeth become less strong, then they will occasionally break teeth. It's quite unusual. You only really see it in the older animals. Now, I've seen the skulls of both leopards and lions, and the way that their teeth are rooted in and the strength of them is actually mind-boggling. It's an unusual occurrence, but it can happen. Most likely, more likely, what could break a tooth is during a hunt, particularly if they're hunting a big animal, especially with lions and buffalo or giraffe. If they get a kick to the face, that's quite often what could cause a broken canine. Cool, alrighty. Enjoy. Cheers.
We might bring news of the Pumas.
Yes, please. Alright. I'm just chatting to Peter. He's heading off into Buffelshoek, and he might bring us some news about what's happening with the Nkuhuma Pride. And the sun just came out. How beautifully timed. And Karula having a quick look at Peter. Ooh. That doesn't look very comfortable. I've mentioned that Karula is 11 years old and that there is a chance, we don't know for sure yet, there's a chance that she's pregnant. She was seen mating with Karula 2 weeks ago, I think. Not mating with Karula, mating with Tingana. And Dee, you were wondering at which age essentially leopards go through their menopause and they stop having cubs. I think that the latest recorded birth was a leopard of around 16 in the wild. Right up until then, but they will start to slow down. The quality of the eggs that they're releasing becomes reduced, as it does in all mammals, and they will get to a point where they can no longer reproduce. That being said, at that point old age is also starting to affect them, and they're not as strong or competitive as they used to be, especially with young females or young males competing for territory. And at that point, there is a chance that they might die of natural causes before they reach that stage. Life gets more and more difficult for an older animal out here. She's now picked the flimsiest twig as support for her back foot. That doesn't look like it's going to end well. Look at the flexibility of those toes on that branch. I'm not sure how she's managing to make this look graceful, but she is somehow. Sort of. Karula, whatever you do, don't use that branch to support your any more weight, or you are going to fall down. I've spoken a lot, of course, about Karula. And Sarah, you're watching all the way in California. You want to know why she's called Karula. Is there any significance? Karula means peace. Now, generally, apparently, the leopards here are mostly named for their personalities. So for Karula, as a cub, she was obviously the more peaceful of the two. I believe that she was born with a male sibling. And I guess she must have been the more relaxed and the gentler of the two to have been given that name by some of the guides. Her daughter Shadow, whose there was originally called Tingana, which means shy. Bit of confusion there. Every now and again you get a strange leopard who comes in with the same name, and then you have to start rethinking things. But Shadow is now Shadow because she disappears like a shadow. But yes, Karula is the peaceful one in peace. And when we see her like this, you can understand why. Are you done now, girl? You finished feeding? You're having a good look at Peter. the post-dinner washing up. Giving herself a jolly good clean. Now, interesting point, I've said that her tail has gone stiff and solid looking and she's using it for balance, but Andreen, you've heard that leopards can use their whiskers for balance, and you were wondering if that's true. Now, I'm fairly certain that it could well be true. Mostly what they use their whiskers for is a little extra perception, almost like an extra vision, as a way of feeling their way, particularly in low light conditions or through thick bush, where they want to dodge all the thorns and not poke their eyes out. That being said, I suppose that comes with it. It does have an aspect of balance in it. So navigation and balance are quite deeply connected. Obviously, we use our inner ear mainly for balance, but if your vision does go, you will find yourself off balance. So I suppose whiskers work in a similar way and assist, but for the most part, it's more for feeling their way through obstacles. What I'm going to do, because we've got the sun coming out and we're facing directly into it, I'm going to try and reposition so that we can get a nice shot of her with the sun on her. Tongue now sticking out and having a good pant. If we have a peek at her through the branches, not the clearest view. Oh, I think that there's a, oh, there you go. Karula's going to come down the tree. She's going to pause there. Let me try and get Bim to a slightly better spot for when she does come down. Ah. Oh, you sneaky cat. That was not the side you were meant to go down. That was very inconsiderate of you. My suspicion is she's heading back to find a nice comfortable ground spot to go back to sleep. Andy, well, it's great to have you on the back. Andy is joining us for the first time. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. You have been treated to a spectacle from Karula, the Queen of Djuma. Andy, you were here when the drone was flying and you mentioned that it seems disturbingly loud. Now, Andy, in that particular case, she's absolutely fine with it. She actually didn't even look up at it at any point. We're always on standby. We always make sure that we're not affecting them negatively in any way. But it is something that they have become used to. Found a tree where a tree should not have been. It's alright, the tree and the car survived. There we go. That's exactly what I expected her to do. To lie down and probably go straight to sleep. Andy, we're very careful with the drone. A lot of the animals are very comfortable with it. And we always make sure that we monitor very closely that it's not having any negative effect. Now, if Karula was moving around and we knew that there, for example, were lions close by or something that could in any way threaten her, then we'd take it on the safe side and we would avoid putting the drone up altogether. But when she's nice and out in the open like this, perfectly relaxed, she didn't even glance up once. Now, I don't think she's going to be up to too much apart from a very thorough paw washing and face washing. At least that's one thing that leopards do have going for them. They're much more fastidious than their lion counterparts. And every meal is finished off by a very solid, very thorough clean. And that's important, of course, because it prevents any kind of parasite build-up that could do them damage. It also helps to prevent build-up around the claws so they don't get stuck in their sheath. Karula is not going anywhere, and we were chatting a little bit about the drone. I believe that the drone is ready to give you some more incredible footage. So let's head across to the drone and Brent, and I will catch up with you in just a few moments.
I am the sky following us, and drone squadron with Andrew piloting, Eugene behind the driver's seat, and Tebs as an observer are following us. We're heading down the Buffelshoek cut line at the moment, and you should shortly see a road coming up to my right. If you can see my arm going off to the right there. That is Mvubu Road that runs down towards the Djuma Dam camp. And we are heading sort of southeast at the moment, down towards the Buffelshoek area. Still quite far. We're going to see how long. There we go, isn't that fun to be able to do that? And unfortunately, I think the drone got a little bit of a signal problem as it went through that dip there. We'll try and get it up and running again shortly, and we're going to carry on. And so I do have an update for you about the Tsalala Pride. The sneaky kitties walked right through Arathusa and out during the day today, so unfortunately no Tsalala Pride for us. And it doesn't seem like any other lions. There are some lions in Buffelshoek at the moment. I'm waiting to wait for Craig to get back in there to find out which lions those are exactly. So we're going to go back to the air shortly. Oh, we've got a really cool thing before. We're going to wait possibly to bring us back to the vehicle. It's doing its really interesting little dance. Looking very defensive. You got him there, Brian. That is what you call a two-spot ground beetle. And you can see those two yellow spots. I'm just going to try and usher him back towards us for a second. There you go. Duck, 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 duck. So I think it probably picked up the vibrations of the vehicle. That's why he's got that defensive posture going. It called it two-spot because you can see they look like spots, those little sort of yellows on the side there. Now, really, really interesting little creature, this. It's able to spray formic acid out of its mouth parts for up to 15 centimeters. And he's charging Brian at the moment. I think he's getting too close to the car. Obviously, I'm going to try escort him off the road so no one else drives on him. Let's go, my friend. So they're ferocious hunters. They're unable to fly, but they are able to hunt really effectively. They've got really, really powerful mouth parts. The formic acid is, there we go, let's get him into the bush, is more for trying to defend itself against predators. Here we go, off into under the bush. So we'll try to go back to the sky once we're up on the road again. And who knows, maybe the drone will find us some eddies from up there. Okay. Very cool little insect, that two-spot ground beetle. In South Africa, there's a nice little colloquial nickname for them called a talkie beetle. And that refers to that movement. It's like talk, 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 talk. So, very, very cool little creature. The drone is almost directly above us at the moment. And we're continuing to head down the Buffelshoek cut lines coming up on our right, and Buffelshoek is over the next.
Dear, and we appear to have lost Brent very briefly, but I do hope you enjoyed your brief time with him. I've decided now, since Brent got to see the first baby impala lamb, and I'm thoroughly disgruntled, I've decided that the only way to beat him this afternoon is to actually find one being born. So I'm traveling at an absolute snail's pace, looking for impala ewes hiding away in the bushes. Obviously, I'm not going to compromise them in any way by chasing after them, but if we get lucky enough, there's a very good chance that we could catch one of the births happening, and how incredible would that be? I know that Wildebeest, my cameraman, got his nickname from filming a live wildebeest birth. Is that right, Wildebeest? Yeah. Who knows, we might be able to add impala onto the list. And it would actually definitely be a first for me. Yay! Deborah, I'm glad that I could be the first to show you and others the first baby impala. I guess you missed the start. Come on, baby. Hiding somewhere here. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled. Derek, I agree with you. It only counts if we see them crowning. So we'll be looking for the first signs. Oh, it would be so wonderful to sit and watch an impala birth from start to the little thing standing up, using its legs for the first time. I'm so excited just at the prospect. And these next few days, that chance is exponentially higher. Than is, well, obviously, I was going to say it's exponentially higher than any time of the year, but of course it is, because that's when impala all have their babies at the same time, with a couple of late births around January, February. Now, I know that there was talk of the impalas making a lot of noise on the dam camera and scattering in different directions. The one thing that I've noticed as I've been driving around recently is the male impala actually get a bit confused by the smell of the pregnancy hormones, and it almost fools them into thinking that it's breeding season again, which is why I've actually noticed a lot of rams either fighting with each other or chasing the females around, and these poor females are looking very confused, kind of trying to say, listen buddy, I'm already heavily pregnant, it really isn't the right time. But there is something obviously that connects the smells of this time of year. Yep, Gert, you are absolutely right. Gert is watching from the Netherlands. You heard the call of the Woodlands kingfisher, even if you didn't see it on the on the Djuma Dam camera. Yes, Gert, they are back once again with us. They arrived, the first one was seen on the 16th, so that was the Monday. That was when we had our first one, and it's hanging around the Djuma Dam, so I'll be keeping my eye out. There's one on quarantine now as well, and those are sort of the early arrivals, but they're definitely around. We've got baby impala, we've got Woodlands kingfisher. Summer has officially properly arrived, along with that much needed rain that we've had. I'm going down to, speaking of rain, I'm going to head down and check some of our dams. And while I do that, I believe Brent is back at Buffelshoek. So let's head across to him for now.
Welcome to the Buffelshoek waterhole. And there we've got hippos and the goslings. So when we came past here early this morning, there were no hippos. So they've obviously moved in during the day sometime. And look at that, the Egyptian geese right next to the hippos. I thought for a while the one hippo might get upset with them, but they didn't. And look at that absolutely gorgeous light on them at the moment. The sun's come out, the clouds are abating a little bit, and it is absolutely magnificent out here in the African bush. I'm sure the hippos would have preferred it to stay cloudy, but the late afternoon sun is not too bad in terms of strength. Oh, magnificent light. So we have 5 hippos back in Buffelshoek. The one on the far left. The one on the far left is looks like a bull, or a very big cow, but I think it does look like a bull, just from the head size and head shape. And then looks like 2 adult females as well. Apparently, with this powerful zoom, we can see the hairs in the ears. So this morning we were looking at the hairs on the nostrils. This evening, looking at the hairs on the ears. So, just quickly before we go on to the hippos again, if we can go to that Egyptian goose to the left, it's so still, it's almost got the most perfect mirror reflection. The one that's next to the little goslings. Look at them, isn't that beautiful? Hope you guys are getting some great screenshots of this. So there used to be 7, we're down to 4 at the moment. Various different things might eat these little goslings. Predatory birds, a big catfish, even a saddle-billed stork. Just trying to have a look what else we can see around, but aren't those little goslings just too precious? Hopefully for their parents' sake, they either get big enough to fly or we get a bit more rain before this waterhole dries up. This is that sort of light where you just want a female leopard to, or male leopard to just stroll down towards you, coming for an afternoon drink. So I have heard which lions are in Buffelshoek. It is the Nkahuma Pride. Hopefully they are on their way to visit us here at Djuma again. So now we, with our eyes in the sky and having a look at all the different things, I mean, it must be a spectacular view. You can see the mud. And there we go. There's a little hippo giving a yawn. And there's a hippo rolling at the back, trying to cover their body in mud. Oh, look at that, the whole head covered in mud. Trying to get a bit of sunscreen on. So if we had to wade in there, even though it looks like water, most of that would be sludge. Look at that, isn't that fascinating? So even hippos need a bit of sunscreen. They are quite sensitive to the sun. They do create a sort of natural sunscreen that can be quite pink, that exudes from their skin, and that's where that sort of yellow orangey color around their ears and eyes is from. But even then they do supplement it with a bit of mud if it need be. So obviously they're not able to submerge their bodies fully here, so they will definitely utilize the mud of the dam. Such a peaceful scene. So I think it's about, oh, Brian just, he went under the water. There was a terrapin moving. There we go. You see just to the left of the mud bank, swimming. Oh, he's just disappeared under. He might pop up again when he hits a bit of shallow mud. There, whoop, head up. Oh, he's disappeared again. You see their little heads popping out of the water. And then on the opposite bank, there's terrapins. I'll keep a lookout if we can see one that's a bit more up the water. It looked like elephant dung, and then it moved. And you see them there, Brian. So there's two hummerkorps. One's actually lying down in the sand. There we go. And they'll be taking advantage of this drying up waterhole to provide them with lots to eat, frogs and fish and aquatic insects. Oh, it looks like there's an... Is he going to land on the... No, not on the hippos. An oxpecker. So, a little... Oxpeckers come to drink. Sometimes they do drink off the backs of the hippos. A little red-billed oxpecker. And then not far from the red-billed oxpecker is a drone squadron 1. I don't know why we call them drone squadron 1 since we only have one drone squadron at the moment. There they are, there's Tebbs and Andrew. Eugene's just hiding a bit beyond the sight. And RC from the Netherlands, who's got an incredibly good eye. Oh, as I say that, of course. What RC spotted in the background is taken off. And there it is, a grey heron. Brian's going to try follow it, but RC spotted that in the background. It might land in that... No, decided not to. Looking for a nice dead tree to land in. Or might be looking for a new fishing spot. And you can hear that beautiful sort of chortle. And at the base of that sort of clay mound, Brian, there's the culprit that's been making the noise. It's a water thickney. So, quite a lot of bird life and other life here at Buffelshoek. There's an oxpecker on there. There we go. There's ox. Oh, snort. So Merlin in Ontario is wondering whether the drone bothered the birds. So you can see the oxpecker that was on the back of the hippo was far more bothered by the hippo snorting, and the ducks look very relaxed. The hippos also taking very little notice of the drone and more worried about keeping themselves out of the sun. So it's such an exquisite afternoon. The light's incredible. So something I haven't done in a while, and it's a special request from one of our viewers looking for lions. I have been known to make a few different animal noises and impressions. And one I haven't done for a while is a hippo impression, but with the hippo impression comes a joke. So it's actually a Mbush joke. Mbush are the river bushmen, also called Baye, or the Mbush and Baye, the two different tribes, but speak the similar language up in the panhandle of the Okavango Delta in Botswana, extending through into northern Namibia and into Angola. And obviously they live on these wonderful rivers that are full of hippos. So quite a lot of folklore and stories and jokes even about the hippos. So a hippo's got a very distinct call. And the Mbush always joke that you're never sure whether the hippo is the best joke teller in the bush or the worst joke teller in the bush. Because what they do is they all go underwater, have a little discussion, say their jokes, and when they come back out they go but you never know whether the hippos are laughing at the joke because it's that funny, or whether they're embarrassed and they're telling the joke underwater and only laughing when they get to the top, so you don't know the joke. On that note, we're going to go see Jamie, who's got some of our big guests here at Djuma.
And whilst Brent spends his time chuckling with the hippos of Buffelshoek Dam, we've been out and about being productive and happened upon a nice big elephant herd on Gowrie Main, our southern boundary. Looking beautiful in the afternoon sun. and slowly, very kindly, crossing north into Djuma. We're going to try and stay with them. I think, it's a guess, but I think they're on their way to Treehouse Dam. Now, I'm not sure if you were watching when Brent had that incredible wild dog sighting. And you could see where the elephants had dug into the dam, even though the dam was dry. They dug into it to get water to seep up into the mud, be able to drink. And I think that's where they're slowly making their way to. They have put themselves into the trees. I'm going to try and move around so that we can follow them. There's one last straggler who wants to come across the road. It's still quite far away, so it should be okay to... Oh, no, he's going to come. All right. You may join us, little boy. Teenage boy hanging out right on the outskirts. Getting to the point where he's aware that he might have to leave his herd soon. And so straggling on the outskirts and at the back. And that's something that will be enforced by the big females of the herd as well. As the males reach sexual maturity, they start to push them out. Slowly but surely make them feel unwelcome. It's actually very sad. Part of the natural cycle. And I think their instincts kick in as well. All right, little boy. And run across the road. Oh, your family's going. You must hurry. Been distracted by food. Oh, distracted again. Found a branch dropped by one of the other females. And her loss is his gain, because he's going to stop and quickly strip that before he catches up. Goes stripping away. Interesting how he decided that he wanted that whilst on the move. But he is a growing boy after all. Hey, little one. He's still very young. Definitely quite a few years to go before he gets booted out of the family group. Maybe he just got delayed snacking on a particularly yummy treat. Looking at him, he's probably only about 8 or 9 years old. Still young. Now, unless my judgment of distances has failed terribly, there should be a road coming up fairly soon. So rather than following them through the bush and making them feel uncomfortable, I'm actually going to try and loop around them. Except that I thought the road was there and it's not. Oh no, there it is. Oh, we're fine. They should pop out very soon. Let's do a quick loop. And while we do that, we can check that Impala that I can see standing off far into the distance. Because we're going to find a baby Impala. I feel like this is now a challenge and a mission. Scoot up a little bit. Big hello to Eleanor. Now, Eleanor, apparently you are the sister of my biology teacher from high school, Mrs. Riley, Lorraine Riley. Well, thank you so much. I really have loved presenting for the school. It's really been enjoyable, and hearing the most incredibly intelligent and advanced questions that have come from some of the kids there. It's very, very impressive. Something that I've absolutely loved doing. So a big hello to you and your sister, and thank you for joining us. I hope you become as addicted to driving around out here as I am. I feel like I've gone completely dippy. I'm in the wrong road. That's what's going on. To here. I've been doing a couple of drives for my old school, apparently now we have a new viewer, Dina. Dina, welcome to our live safaris. And apparently you're going to be sharing these drives with your class as well. I'm very happy to hear it. I think that in terms of being an educational tool, you don't get much better than the engagement level that we have out here. The animals provide day after day as a source of knowledge and just experience out here. I really am completely confused. I thought I was on a completely separate road that had a nice, perfect right-hand turn straight where I needed it to be. But apparently while I've been chattering away to you all, I haven't actually been paying attention to where I am. Still not entirely sure how that happened, but that's okay. We'll find our way and back to the elephants. Peeled for our baby impalas that I will see very soon. Mr. Moustache, who is on holiday in Iceland, he wanted to know how long it takes for the babies out here to be up and about and on their feet, and the answer is only a couple of minutes. I've seen baby impalas stand up after 5. It's a bit wobbly. It's not the most coordinated of gestures, but they do it. It's incredible to see, and it's essential that they are up and about on their feet and able to keep up with their mothers as quickly as possible, because there are lots of teeth out here waiting to eat them, whether it's from the wild dogs, the leopards, or the lions. They want to be up and about as quickly as possible, and what you'll find with all of the antelope species out here, giraffe included, zebra as well, that all of their babies look a little bit disproportionate. Their legs look so long compared to the rest of them. They just look different from the adults. And that's to provide them with a means of actually being able to keep up with their parents and run with them, really manage to not get left behind by the rest of the herd. And you can imagine how vital that is during a chase. They don't want to be separated from their mothers, although it does happen. Up and about very quickly. Can't believe I got lost. Not lost, just in the wrong place. I know where I am now. It just wasn't where I thought I was at all. It's amazing how you can lose track of where you're driving. There is also a ever so slight feeling of embarrassment. That did not go according to plan at all, but we have had a wonderfully scenic tour of Elephant Carcass Road. I hope you all enjoyed that while we try and find our elephants again. In that case, what I was saying about them going to Treehouse Dam may not be correct. There is a chance they are in fact on their way to the Djuma Dam, so keep your eye on the camera. The skies have cleared up beautifully, but I did honestly think we were going to get rained upon this afternoon. But on the subject of rain, Dodie, who is watching us, you want to know if, now that the rains have come and starting to show an effect ever so slightly, will the catfish pop out of their mucus-covered cells that they are currently hiding in, or will they wait until there's a little bit more water? Very interesting point, and one that I don't know for certain that I'm right about. I would suggest that they're going to give it a little while before they come out, because there's still a good chance that these rains were just a once-off treat, and that there's still a possibility of the dams being dry for another month or so. Theoretically, the next big rains, in theory, are predicted by meteorologists to be due in March. Now, I'm fairly certain that animals have quite a good instinct on this kind of thing, and I guess the catfish are going to give it a little while before they pop out. Now, for those of you who aren't too sure what I'm talking about, catfish, or barbel as we call them, they get to the point where obviously the dams have dried up, they've got nowhere to go. What they'll do is they'll dig down into the mud, they'll form a mucus cavity there with tiny little ends so that they can breathe, and they'll spend a considerable period of time dormant in the dried out mud. It's a way of just increasing their survival. But they cannot do that indefinitely, and at some point they will have to start to come out. I suspect, however, that it will be a period of time before they decide to come out. And of course, it doesn't work for every catfish, as many of you would have seen. There's still lots of skeletons in what was left of the Djuma Dam. So some of them didn't quite make it to that hibernating stage. They left it too late. Some of them were just too big. They got trapped by the catfish, and they didn't get down to the mud in time. What I've actually... there's my elephants. Hey, so it wasn't so bad after all. Hello, elephants. Thank you very much for being so kind as to go in the right direction, unlike me. I almost feel like they might pop out into the road. This must be quite a big herd, because I've covered a considerable distance. Wildebeest is showing us where the big grey shapes have been hiding. Just want to see which direction she's going in. I actually want to try and get ahead of them, because they're going to pop out onto the road very soon. I know I've said that before, but this time I've actually just come from the road, so I definitely know where I am. I'm not completely losing my marbles. Found ourselves a nice easy path in without having to bash our way through trees and make too much noise, because they definitely don't like that. You may not have seen the first baby impala, but at least some time spent with an elephant herd will help me to recover from my sense of disappointment. Here we go. Hello, guys. Maybe I should stop here and just let them slowly come to us. They are on their way. We haven't got the best view of them at the moment, but they're coming slowly but surely. We've got a far better chance of having a really nice sighting if we just stop and let them come to us. I am, however, going to move ever so slightly forward so that at least Liam has a gap off to his left. Hello, Elise. Come say hello. And I really think this is probably one of my favorite times to view elephants, is this time of day. Here you go, you can just see the flap of the ears cooling themselves down ever so slightly. The internal air conditioning system. Can't see it, but a very big tree just went down somewhere off to my right. Here we go, slowly but surely. Come on, Elise, are you going to stop here? Okay, well, my theory is going to pay off. It might just take a little bit of time for them to slowly meander their way. They're having a really nice, relaxed evening snack, and we certainly should not be the ones to hurry them. If you would be so kind, elephants, I would really appreciate it. I want to go bashing in there. We're only going to disturb. Let them come to us. Well, there's some elephants there behind a very large bush, straight in front of us. The odd flap of the ear. It is a very nice herd. I can hear them moving on us. So they're coming slowly. And we were considerably further up the road when we first spotted this herd. So there must be quite a few. The other one is having a quick dig. They have, of course, decided that that is the best place to stop and eat. Oh, there is a magnificent kudu at the back there. A really stunning big male. He's well hidden, and he's got a spectacular almost... Oh, there's the other one. I think it's those big bulls that we see quite regularly. One of the far-spaced horns, and some closer together. Beautiful. And look who's made an appearance. Hello, little one. Munching away, trying to find the best new pieces of plants that are starting to come through after the rains. Probably about 3 years old, maybe a little bit younger. Tusks are just starting to come through. Now imagine when you're a little baby, that must be the same itchy, sharp pain as we experience when our teeth are erupting. And of course, many of you will know by now that baby elephants have a really interesting approach. They have a couple of plants that they will go to when they are teething. Hello, Elise. And our patience has paid off, because they are slowly all moving around us. Hello, big girl. Yes, your baby's beautiful. Little one. As I said, babies like this one will chew on certain types of plants like spike thorns, as well as the silver cluster leaves. Now I would like to reposition, but obviously we're definitely not going to now, since this female has so quietly and calmly come right up to us. Oh, big girl. Sounds of the leaves rubbing on her body as she moves. Using her heel there to try and pick up the plants. Now the whole herd is slowly moving past us. We've got this female right on top of us, so we're not going to be moving anywhere just yet. Now, Jeffrey, you were wondering if there's any ever accounts, or let me try that sentence again, if there are any accounts of baby elephants or baby rhino interacting with each other. And the answer, Jeffrey, is yes, that does occasionally happen, although the mother, particularly in the rhino's case, will get very protective. But as both baby elephants and baby rhino are naturally quite curious and inquisitive, I've never heard of them playing together unless it's an artificial situation, but there would definitely be interactions between them. Most likely would result in the mother rhino leading her calf away. There's that female. Okay, so she has moved. We can shift around and try and get a view of our Ellies again. As they very kindly came right past us. Definitely on the move. And moving a little bit faster now than they were. Right, there is a big stump somewhere. Oh, there it is. That's okay. Being extra cautious with Jigger because of course we have Big Cat Week coming up, so we're going to very slowly and very delicately pick our way through this block. Hello, Ellies. Thank you very much. Now, if the young calf has stopped to nibble on a knobthorn tree, complete with her slightly older, probably her older son. I'm not certain whether or not he is her calf, but there's a strong possibility. As I've mentioned before, although the elephant calves do have strong bonds with the whole herd, they will stick fairly close to their moms right up until 8 or 9 years of age, and even when she does have another calf, so a younger sibling. Ever so he's gonna go. All crowded around, moving to crowd around a termite mound. I think that's where he's going as well. Navigate our way out here, and as I do, Sharon, you were saying you've seen pictures or drawings of elephants holding each other's tails. We're wondering if this does actually happen, if they learn to do it. And of course the first example for me that jumps to mind is the tiny elephant in the Jungle Book. Sharon, they do. Not quite in the same way. They don't form long parade chains of elephants all holding each other's tail, but particularly calves, and I think it's a comfort thing, will reach out and grab their mother's tails or play with their mother's tails. It's a combination of learning and experimenting. I'm going to stop here for the moment. It's quite a noisy patch of bush. And I don't want to stress them out anymore, or at all actually. They're perfectly relaxed. And as I said, all crowded around this termite mound. And of course, we've spoken about this before, but the whole natural process of the termites building their mounds brings up a huge level of nutrients from deep below the ground, or the base levels of the soil. So the vegetation that grows on them automatically becomes a little bit more nutrient rich and easily digestible. She's definitely enjoying whatever she's munching on there. Now, it's amazing to watch them as they munch away on pretty much everything, and they move through the bush completely impervious to the thickness of thorns. Now, Andre, you were wondering whether or not that has any kind of effect on the babies themselves. So is their skin any softer? And no, they are pretty much just as impervious as their parents. Even from birth, their skin might not be as thick, but it's still very, very thick. And although they might duck and dodge the thorns and maybe not feed on them for their first samples of solid food, for the most part they are pretty much adapted from birth to deal with it. It doesn't scratch them in any way. I think you'll probably find that the babies won't tackle thorn trees as much as their parents, but I have seen the really, really tiny ones, even on the live safari, delicately trying to pick their way around the thorns on acacia trees to try and get the leaves. But for the most part, they are as impervious as the adults. Now, this Ellie herd is getting to the point where they're reaching that drainage line, which means I cannot really follow them any longer, short of actually winding up in some very tricky situations. So I'm going to make my way out and make my way back onto the road, see if we can spot them from there. You're watching on YouTube and you've mentioned that the bulls are pretty intimidating and that you get a bit nervous when you see them come up close to us. It's always important to remember that they are wild animals, they are unpredictable, and we spend a lot of our time when we are with elephants really, really carefully observing their body language. Even if it's not something that we talk about at the time, it's something that's happening instinctively from all of us. Now, generally, with the big bulls, they're not the ones you have to worry about, particularly the big old bulls. They've got a very confident sense of self. There's very little out here that is of any threat to them. And for the most part, because they're so comfortable, they're not nearly as aggressive. They might want to throw their weight around when they're in must, but generally that can be dealt with quite quickly with a stern word or two. As I said, you never know what's happening in their lives. You've got to be careful of assuming that to always be the case. Particularly, for example, you get old males with injuries, or, for example, toothache, which I think, especially for their tusks, has the potential to cause them tremendous pain. You always got to remember that, but you'll be able to read that in the body language of the elephant quite quickly, in the way that they are responding to you. In terms of the more scary of the two, I would say that elephant cows tend to be more dangerous. Breeding herds, if you're going to approach an elephant on foot, you're going to try and stay away from breeding herds unless you've got a really nice, comfortable vantage point and comfortable point of safety. Whereas elephant bulls, you can be a bit more comfortable with. Elephant cows, especially if they've got young calves, can also be a lot more unpredictable. So although the bulls are bigger and more intimidating looking, it's actually the ladies you've got to watch out for the most part. Same goes for lions. Male lions, in my experience on foot, are much more likely to run away than a female. They tend to be quite if you surprise them by mistake.
isn't this absolutely spectacular? It's such a magical time of the day, and we're just seeing what's about. And he has some wonderful eddies with Jamie, and I'm still hoping to see a few more baby impala. And we're heading up Philemon's cut line, and while we do that, we're going to take you up to our eyes in the sky. And you can see there's a nice marula off to my right, the sun's setting in the west. And you can see it's an old firebreak cut line, and there's some buffalo bulls up ahead. And I just mentioned, strangely enough, to Brian that I hadn't seen any buffalo today. Seen lots of dung and lots of tracks. And there we go, there's the buffalo. Hello, gentlemen. And we can see the buffalo from the eye in the sky quite clearly. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at least that I can see. You might be able to see a few more being up in the sky. So they've probably been in the drainage line and now heading up towards the crests to bed down for the evening and chew the cud. So more than 10 buff at the back there. You can see Shabam Road behind me and all the buffalo. Now, at the moment, the thing that can fly highest in the sky is our drone, or is it? It is not. The thing that can fly highest in the sky, when we come back down from the sky, I will show you. So we're so high we can see almost the whole of Djuma. Isn't this incredible? You might be even picking up the curvature of the earth now. And we are just an insect speck. Just going to let you guys enjoy that incredible view. You can see quarantine in the distance behind me. Isn't this absolutely incredible to be able to bring you our eyes in the sky as well as the live game drives? There we go, there's the buffalo, and I said from where the drone was we looked as small as insects. And speaking about insects, I'm just going to move the vehicle slightly. And speaking about who can fly higher than the drone, we can see there's some dung beetles busy at work there, rolling their ball of dung. Now, can you believe dung beetles have been recorded at the same height as commercial airliners? Isn't that absolutely amazing? So they can fly higher than our drone. See, busy constructing a ball of buffalo dung. You can see how he's using those front legs of his to gather little bits of dung and construct his dung ball. So there looks like there might be something underneath pushing up. I'm not sure whether it's just the dung beetle rolling. Just remember that not all dung beetles roll dung balls. Some will actually be underneath. They will actually take the dung or eat the dung from underneath, or lay their eggs directly in the dung. You can see that metallic sheen, reddish one. And they get very, very magnificent different colors. I mean, some look like little emeralds or little rubies, tiny, tiny little brightly colored dung beetles. Some are sort of very matte, dull black, but quite a lot of them do have a lovely color to them. But enough of dung. Let's have a look at some of these, this old dugger boy who's closest to us. We've got a lovely old boy just standing off here chewing the cud. You can see the tips of his horns are quite well worn. And you can see the coloration on the bosses. The bosses are that big center part of a buffalo's horns. And he's been scratching it up against trees, and that's what's given it that yellowish tinge. Quite often he'll also hook the tree behind his horns and scratch behind his ears to try to remove some ticks. Well, that's what he thinks of us. So, looks like he might be looking to lie down. So it's quite possible that this is where the buffalo are going to bend down for the evening and ruminate. You can actually, if you go up onto his face, you can actually see the bolus of cud. So he's brought that up from his stomach and he's re-chewing it to get the maximum amount of nutrients out of it possible. I think he's settled down for the evening. Let's not disturb the old gentleman further. So these buffalo bull groups are sort of retired gentlemen. They're past their breeding prime, and they form these little bachelor herds as protection against predators. And we have seen some incredibly large groups of buffalo. And while we slowly move off, we're going to jump up to our eyes in the sky to give you an aerial view of those buffalo. Okay, you can see quite a large group of buffalo bulls. I mean, these groups can vary from sort of 2 to 50. So quite nice to have them around. They tend to become quite resident at this age, not moving too far between water and grazing. And they don't need as much as those big breeding herds, 400-500. Obviously, the amount of grass 500 buffalo eat, they need to keep moving. So the drone is now leaving the buffalo and starting to catch up with us. Apparently we're a tiny speck on the cut line, and I'm sure they'll catch up with us soon enough. And we're heading almost due west into the setting sun. And still on the search for baby impala, but hopefully from up there in the sky you might get a nice view when we turn around and look at the setting sun of the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance. you're busy looking at us driving. We can't, I'm not sure 100% where the drone is, but we'll wave. Hi guys. And it's going to be quite nice as we come across the crest. We're going to be able to see that sunset and hopefully the last of the clouds for a few days. I think we need some sunshine and some good weather. So we are still checking all the likely impala areas. So we're heading out to an open area where there might be some impala now, hoping that we might find the second baby of the day. And for those of you who might have missed, literally as we started the drive this afternoon, we found the first baby impala seen on Juma. And this light after the rain and after the cloud, the sun, it's just so wonderful to be out here. And I know you guys are having some incredible views from the drone. Andrew doing a sterling job piloting it there. So you can see this lush match of green grass coming up ahead. I was hoping maybe there would be some impalas on it. But alas. And for those of you, there's a sneaky little creature coming into shot. Hasn't been seen for a few days, but he's back. Hopefully some of you managed to catch that creature. So while we continue our search for infantile impala, Jamie seems to be having a pachyderm luck today, so she's got some more ellies, and we'll see you a little later.
And whilst Brent continues on with his search for the baby impala that I still haven't seen, and I'm not quite sure I believe I exist, we're still with our wonderful herd of elephants. There is a minuscule baby right behind on the other side of this female. Tiny little thing. This female is being very protective over. Hello, little one. Only a couple of months old. Still at the uncoordinated stage of life. Hello, cute. Yes, you are very cute. This herd is actually enormous. There are just elephants all around us. At the moment, we've only got a nice view of this group. This female definitely won't let us come any closer. Now, one of these elephants can eat up to 300 kilograms of food a day, of vegetation. And Rich King, you asked a really good question about whether or not they ever accidentally eat insects. And the answer is yes, I'm sure they do. That's almost a definite yes. They must cross elephants somewhere behind us. I would say yes, because they're not that picky. Usually you'll find when they grab grass, they will beat it to get rid of the dust, and that will get rid of most of the insects on there. But if they grab a tree branch or something and stuff it into their mouths and the insect on there isn't paying attention, then they will definitely be included in the elephant's diet, entirely accidentally. And I'm going to, now that our female has relaxed and moved off the road, we can follow along behind them. Let's try and get a nice view of that little baby. Approach and see if we can get a little view of that slightly uncoordinated baby elephant. Michael Puthoff, baby elephants have full use of their trunks when they're born, or is it something they learn as they go along? watching a young baby elephant trying to use its trunk is one of the best things out here. It's like watching young babies and toddlers start to learn to use their hands, and they've already got that grip impulse, but they're not quite sure what to do with it or how to do it for quite a long time. And elephants can take a good couple of months to get there, and even after a year or two, if you watch them, they don't have that same level of dexterity that the adults have in using trunks. I love that smell, that very grassy scent of an elephant herd moving through an area. All right, Mom. Okay, Mom. Okay, Mom. Mother with a very young baby. She ears up, head up, swaying from side to side. That's telling us immediately that she doesn't want us any closer. Little baby's digging off to the right. What you digging for, little one? There's nothing there. That's a road, little boy. Oh, beautiful. Such a peaceful animal scene, or family scene, actually. I've said it's a peaceful, beautiful evening and family scene, but we saw that young male before, and Tricia, you're telling a story of seeing a young male being screamed at by a female, and he ended up standing on his own once the herd had left for about an hour. You were wondering if that was an eviction. Could be, depends on the age of the elephants, but there's a very good chance. It's something that is sad to see. I know that you were very upset while you were watching it, and I've seen it a couple of times, and I don't know whether it's something because I'm putting human emotions. I think it's probably a bit too anthropomorphic, but it always looks as though the young males look slightly confused and a bit bereft, like they don't quite understand why all of a sudden they're not entitled to the love and protection that they had when they were young. That being said, they probably find that their natural instincts are kicking in anyway, and they want to be separate from the herd. And of course, it's something that has to happen once they reach sexual maturity. Otherwise, they are bigger and stronger than the females, and they grow very rapidly. And they can get to the point where they could mate and interbreed with their family. So that's something that the parents, or that the females, are going to try and avoid by kicking that young male out and sending him on his way. That being said, some of the most stressed out elephant herds, I'll try and reposition as I finish answering, some of the more stressed out elephant herds I have seen are those being harassed by older bulls that have already been evicted but have come across the breeding herd and want to spend some time with them. The mothers get very protective, particularly if they have young calves, and very uncomfortable. And you'll notice as I'm doing this, I'm trying to do it really, really gently and slowly. You've got to have eyes in the back of your head to try and make sure that there's no elephant that's feeling uncomfortable with your presence. And what I'd prefer to do, rather than drive directly at them, is to put us at a bit of an angle so we don't stress them out at all. So it could have been an older bull, Tricia, that you were seeing being scared off. But it is always interesting to watch the dynamic and interaction between elephants. Oh, it was something that was being closely monitored. One of the reserves I worked at was part of a closed system, so it was fenced. And as you can see, as we're watching these wonderful elephants, hello, little baby, moving through an area, they do cause a great deal of environmental destruction. They're key in shaping the environment that they're in. So if there are too many of them in an enclosed area and they can't move around, being shepherded by an older sibling, or probably not a sibling, an older cousin. Those two look too close in ages to be siblings. There you go, the trunk sorry, to go back to the original question, watch this baby trying to, particularly the one at the back, trying to wrap its trunk around pieces of grass. That's a piddly piece of grass. That's not even the best part. Trying to combine with foot movement, as Mom does, but just not quite getting it right. It's all a lesson in coordination. Possibly even learning there from the older cousin. Hey, little ones. That was very, very well demonstrated, thank you, that lack of coordination. Now, if you could just do that and turn around and face this way, that would be even more ideal, but I don't think so. I think you're going to follow Mom. Yep. There you go. I'm going to let these Ellies continue up along the road ahead of me, and they're going to disappear. And I believe Brent has a very cool bird to show you, so let's head back across to him, and I will be back with you and these Ellies very shortly.
So, we have found another black-bellied bustard. Those of you who are on the Sunrise Safari with us saw a very amorous black-bellied bustard trying to impress the ladies. This guy doesn't look like he's got any ladies around him at the moment. And he's got some Senegal lapwings for company instead. Oh, and he's going to disappear behind that fallen tree. It's another Senegal lapwing flying in, Brian. And he's going to land a bit closer than the others. It's amazing how well camouflaged they are. It's coming to check us out. Running closer. So they are incredibly large fans of short grass areas or burnt areas. So they're actually local migrants. And they'll fly around to where the best feeding area for them is, where the grass is shortest. Feed off various different insects. Most of the lapwings favour short grasses or the edges of water if you're a blacksmith. And he's keeping Brian honest with his movements. Very quick scuttling about. He's very fast. Oh, and if he goes, oh, he's about to go behind the vehicle. Very pretty little bird. Scuttle, scuttle, scuttle. So I do know that Scott has found a nest somewhere around here. They're ground nesting birds. Unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure where it is. Brian, do you know? Brian knows. Okay, let's go see if we can find the nest. Okay, so apparently it's right here. Have you got it? Where, Brian? A little bit further. On left or right? On the right. Oh, I just saw one come off the ground. So I think it's over there. Somewhere. It's very close. Now we don't even move off the road to see it apparently, but so we're going to try find it now. Now it's a test of the eyesight. Who's got the egg eyes? Do you see it, Brian?
Not yet.
So the eggs are really, really speckled, and makes a very good camouflage. And obviously that's their main form of protection. And another thing the adults will do, if I was to get out and start walking here, they would behave like they've got a broken wing to try and lead me away from their nest. trying to look very carefully. Brian's looking, I'm looking. Final Control's trying to tell us where it is. It's one of those amazing things. As soon as you spot it, it sticks out like a sore thumb, but till you make that initial spot, it remains very well camouflaged. And Mom ran out. There's Mom over there. So she came out of this area. Just to show you Mom quickly. I'm going to look. I mean, she's not going to scuttle off, keep Brian chasing her. I'm going to give one last really good look. But I've got a feeling this nest might defeat me. And you've got a nice, really close look at Mom there. So basically their nest is just a tiny little scrape in the soil and 2 to 3 eggs just laid on the ground. I'm afraid I think this nest has defeated me. Let's carry on, see what else is around. One last look. Okay, so while we continue on, let's go to Jamie, who's got a beautiful set of clouds for you. I'm guessing they're the cirrus.
I mentioned it was a beautiful evening, and I think that may have been an understatement. I don't think I've ever experienced a sunset out here that looks the same as the one before. And there is another bank of clouds slowly making its way towards us from the east, which is unusual. It's not where the weather generally comes from, but it's coming slowly. Definitely wasn't there before. There it is. Some dark and heavy looking clouds making their way towards us. I don't think there's not particularly windy. They're not going to be here all that soon. It's still a beautiful evening to be spending a bit of time with an elephant herd and actually just enjoying the peace and serenity after a couple of really hectic days. I'm going to shift forward a bit. This entire elephant herd is still spread out in front of me. There's trees cracking all the way off to my left across the drainage line. And they're definitely, as I said earlier, a very big herd. And I've been giving them plenty of personal space just because it is getting dark. And I've heard a couple of babies squealing. Don't want to add to any upset, but we'll very slowly meander our way and see if they'll be kind enough to let us join them in the last few moments of light. Some in the drainage line, all right. Okay, a little bit of a head shake and a snort. Just let her settle. She's been very protective, this cow, and it's interesting because she's not an old cow. She's one of the quite young females. She's not a big girl, but she's been the entire time very protective. I'm not sure if it's just because of her positioning and the fact that she's closest to us. There's definitely some bigger ladies around. She's taking her role as protector of the herd very seriously. Most of the calves, or at least the 2 youngest calves, have slowly moved off a bit further in that direction behind the female, who won't let us come any closer. There was one down in the drainage line, but I think she's moving out now. Let's see if while this female moves away, we can't shift a little bit closer. Here we go. I really enjoy the peacefulness of an elephant sighting like this. You just get to spend a little bit of time with them. You can hear the sounds of them breaking branches and feeding, and just moving through the vegetation. Let my engine run for a moment. There's just some heads poking out from the side of the drainage line as well. There's one moving down and then into the drainage line. Big girls, and just the top of a female's head at the back there. And it feels as though this place is just filled with elephants. Now, before the black-bellied bustard made a cameo appearance, I was chatting a little bit about bulls and herd interactions with them. And I mentioned the fenced reserve that I used to work in. One thing that they were trying there was a type of elephant contraception, just to make sure that they weren't going to damage the reserve by having too many elephants. And there is a necessity, because we have put fences up in areas, to then control elephant populations, because they can't do it themselves. Because it was not hormonally based, so it didn't have any of the side effects of interfering with the animal's natural hormones. They still went into estrus regularly. It was based on an autoimmune response, so a natural response from the elephant, and completely reversible in the way that they used it. But the one aspect of it was it meant that the elephants went into estrus more frequently. And there was a concern initially, was that elephant males, or elephant bulls, were then going to harass the herds, harass the females to get access to those in estrus. And luckily it turned out, it's been running for 20 years, turned out not to be the case. There wasn't a higher level of male association with the females at all. Interesting how cleverly elephants can manage themselves. Hello, ladies. It's a female with very large, very pointed tusks who wants to move forward and has found herself in a roadblock, so is going to poke the female in front of her out of her way. Not the most dignified approach. You feel the elephant being poked in the bottom and told to move along. No big girl. And she's definitely one of the contact rumble from behind me. They're talking to each other, even though the herd is spread out and split away. They're all communicating still. I can say this female is definitely one of the more high-ranking, definitely one of the oldest. You can see how much bigger she is than the other females, and she's giving the odd poke. Ah, that's why she's bigger. She's a he. Now that I can see her from behind. So it's a young bull that's actually pushing the females around a little bit. And to continue with what Trisha was saying, Trisha, that is why quite often you find that the cows get fed up with the males, because they do things like that. They come and push their buddies around. Now I want to leave this herd. It has got quite dark, and they're all around us. I want to just make my way out and let them have the space for the evening. And while I do that, I believe that Brent has some amazing insects to show you. I'll catch up with you soon enough.
Isn't this incredible? There's a large emergence of alates, or termites. So this is the reproductive males and females from the different termite colonies, and they are going out after the rain. Soil's soft, to go try set up new colonies. Very, very few of them survive. Are an incredibly rich source of protein, and literally everything eats them. I've even seen hyena and leopard and lion eating them. But isn't this absolutely stunning? I mean, it's literally, the air is thick with them. Thousands upon thousands of potential kings and queens taking off to see if they can make it in life. So it looks like there's probably 3 or 4 emergences coming out, and these are the little termites that don't build the really big mounds. They make those little, most of their stuff will be underground, possibly even some of them that will go feed off from the bottom of the termite dung and make their way into the termite dung. And it's just incredible, thousands upon thousands of them. So they've missed a lot of the birds. The birds have already bedded down for roosting, but I've been keeping an eye out. I'm half expecting to see some bats plummeting in and feeding off these little guys. One of the other things that's definitely going to be out is possibly some of the rain frogs and sand frogs that bury themselves in the soil. And when a feeding feast like this comes out, they can't resist. So one would think an aardvark would be taking advantage of this, and it is possible, but an aardvark would literally have to be over the hole where they're emerging from to take advantage of this. Oh. And we've got that wonderful skyline. You can see the lights a bit softer after the rain. Those really red sort of sunsets we see are when there's a lot of dust in the air, and obviously with the amount of rain we've had, not too much dust around. Oh, I just saw a drongo swoop through and ease a termite. It disappeared. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm going to just be on the game drive radio for a second. Where's it gone? Oh, it's on my lap. Not that I'm aware of, Craig. I'm making my way into that area at the moment, though. There we go, as I said it. But this is a different frog. It looked like, actually, where did he go? It looked like an African bullfrog. Oh, these are so cool. I love frogs so much. Where did he go? I just saw him hop. Try spot him again. I'm just going to go see if I can locate him. Let's track some amphibians. I'm really hoping I get to show you a bushveld rain frog this rainy season. He's one of my favorite looking frogs. He looks like a grumpy little old man. He's got these short little legs and he waddles around. But this looked like a bullfrog or a toad from the side. I'm going to try see if I can escort it back to where we can see it. So the last place I saw that frog, or
Oh dear, well it seems as though Brent's picture decided to freeze. Now I've been trying to make my way off this road since you left me, and I'm so surrounded by elephants that there doesn't really seem to be an easy pathway. Now personally I prefer to keep lights off them, just because they are diurnal animals, they are daytime animals. And I've been trying to sneak past. We've made it past about 6 of them, but we have definitely met with an impassable roadblock in the form of a very big bottom. Apart from, of course, this little female. But here's the bottom that's in the road. The road curves around, so not only would we be trying to get past her, but we'd also be catching her by surprise as we go around that corner. Neither of which are... Hello. Yes, you're very scary. Yes, you're very scary. All right, little one. Little boy. Teenage boy. Thinking about trying to act big and scary, but really being just a little bit too scared himself. He's going to then pretend to... Well, it sounds as though Brent has managed to find his frog and he's unfrozen, so let's head back to him.
You love. There you go. Oh, it's like a little male, not a really big African bullfrog yet. They can get a bit bigger than this. These are incredible frogs. They've got a wonderful sort of whomping call. Sort of a whomp, whomp. And he's definitely out to take advantage of these termites. I mean, incredible meal for a frog, and they will risk going out into the open and hopping around. That's how much protein's in this meal. Now try and get him to turn that way, other way, so you can see his eyes are just there. No, you're going into the dark. Oh! I think he wants to get into some cover, so we're not going to harass him anymore. But isn't that incredible? I'm so excited the frogs are here. I really do love frogs, and they're such important animals in the ecosystem, and they're also one of the most important ecological sort of markers in a system. So frogs are one of the first species to really disappear when water quality is bad and when pollution's bad. And the fact that we have such a healthy frog population out here is always a good thing. And the other exciting things about having frogs out and termites out is that oh, there's my spotlight. The frogs are a favorite food of a very interesting group of animals, of a reptilian variety, and always a good chance after you've got a really big sort of termite emergence that you'll get the frogs out, and with the frogs come the snakes. And also the scorpions. Quite a lot of the scorpions really like feeding on those termites. So we've got this incredible emergence all around us, and there's lots of them still flying and just catching flecks of them in the light. And Donovan is wondering if we can show them coming out of the mound. Donovan, I tried earlier before we went live to see if I could find where that emergence was. So that emergence is coming out of a hole literally that big. So probably an eighth the size of a penny. And finding the exact hole out on an open area can be quite difficult, but I will keep checking for you. And congratulations on your first termite emergence, Donovan. Since you've been watching the live drives. Another one of the interesting insects that often come out at this time of the year but not every year, which is quite interesting. In certain years, they're actually an infestation. Literally thousands of them. You can barely drive down a road without having to go 2 kilometers an hour and try zigzag around. Is an armored cricket. Unfortunately, I don't have an insect book with me, but if you do, it's also called a corn cricket, C-O-R-N, a corn cricket, and we do get them here. Elaine's mentioning that she saw some when she was at Biamiti Bush Camp in the Kruger National Park when she visited, and she's coming back next year, so well, not too far from us today, just up the road. We've got an interesting question, and from Richard King, who's asking about that frog we just saw. Says, is that the one? If you lick it, it is a hallucinogenic. Rich, it's not. That would be a toad. Certain toads have bufo glands, toxic glands on behind their eyes as one of their defensive mechanisms. And certain tribes and people will lick those glands, and it gives them a sort of a trip. I personally have never tried it, never planned to either, but I do know of some people who have, and anyway, we'll see. Maybe we can convince James to try it, see what happens to him. But sorry guys, just going to be on the Game Drive radio for a second. Standing by, Craig. I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't there. I think she was lying up very close to Jacobberry around that fallen terminalia just to the south. I'm about 5 minutes away from, or even less, probably 3 minutes away from joining you, give you a hand. Also, she has headed down to the pan occasionally for a drink. She might have gone there. Gary Dan. So guys, Jamie's stuck in an elephant roadblock. So we're going to go catch up with Karula for the last little bit of drive, because I think she might be stuck there for a while. And there's lots of different tracks on the road here, and those big ones you're seeing in the middle of the road there are zebra. So only one baby impala, hopefully more in the morning. Especially since we're at night and we've been chatting about termites. One of the biggest predators of termites is the mighty aardvark, or earth pig if you take a direct translation. And people are wondering, when was the last time we saw one? What are the densities like around here? And the last one that was seen by WildEarth on Juma was actually spotted by Nikki on a staff drive, and that was probably a couple of months ago now. The last aardvark I saw was also probably a couple of months ago, but it wasn't on Juma. It was on another reserve where my parents live, and I actually saw two in 500 meters. And shortly after that, my dad saw a leopard try to catch an aardvark. So must have heard about Tingana, the male leopard in the Sabi Sands, who had a taste for aardvark flesh. But in densities, in this area I'm not 100% sure, but not incredibly large densities. And they're very difficult. Apart from seeing their tracks, they don't leave droppings. They bury their dung. So it can make it quite difficult to find them. And one of the best ways, if you have time on your side, would be to check all those holes. And there's a certain species of fly that is specific to aardvark, and different species are specific to different aardvark in different areas. And if you come across a hole in the ground and you notice that there are the specific species of fly in the entrance to the hole, it means the aardvark is at home and most definitely there. So not sure whether the aardvark feed off the sweat is one theory, or they feed off the blood, so predatory. So there is some research being currently done about that, and the reason you see them at the entrance to the hole is so you don't miss the flies don't miss the aardvark. So they make sure they are there when the aardvark leaves. So it's incredible that it's possible that just here in the Sabi Sands or the low velds, there's one species of fly that either feeds off the sweat or the blood, they're not 100% sure yet, of aardvark. But if you go up to the high veld or into the desert, there's a different species of the same family of that fly that also feeds off the sweat or blood of an aardvark. So we're in the area where Karula was, and we're just checking that she hasn't moved a little bit further away. I see eyes. Oh, and some parlor eyes wandering their way towards the tree. And we've got a new viewer to ask him questions. Raiden, welcome Raiden. Raiden's wondering, when do we see lions? Well, Raiden, we're not going to see a lion tonight. Hopefully, we're going to see a leopard. It looks like she might have moved off. I'm just going to get a hold of Jamie quickly on the Game Drive channel, see where she was lying up last. Let's just double check the tree. You never know. There's still quite a lot of meat left. There's what's left of the carcass. There is a bit more on the other side, but the impala are quite close to this tree, so I'm just going to call Jamie quickly. Jamie. So those of you who heard me talking to Craig, he was also looking for Karula. Sorry, not to worry, Jamie. He was also looking for Karula. I said she might have headed down to the waterhole at the Juma Dam Cam for a drink, and that she has. So I asked him to go check there because we were coming in from this side. So Raiden, we're on our way to see a leopard, a female leopard, quite often known as the Queen of Juma. She is the main territorial leopard in this area. And you might have noticed I switched off my lights when there were a bunch of impala in front of the vehicle. So what happens is you can blind your diurnal animals, and diurnal animals are most active during the daytime with the lights, and that can sometimes give predators an unfair advantage. And we're here to observe nature in its most true essence, so we don't want to affect either in help of the prey or the predator. But it sounds like she's gone down for a drink. Oh, the Zermi is sleeping. Today, they didn't catch Karula coming down to the pan. She's lying next to it apparently. So we're nearly there. Don't worry, Zoomies, I was just teasing. You guys do such a fantastic job. Let's make her out in Craig's spotlight. And Pete, the pond hippo, is still in residence. He hasn't made his way out for a feed yet. Hello, Pete. Okay, and there is the queen of Djuma, Karula. Dominant female leopard in this area. An incredibly successful mother. She successfully reared 6 litters, if my memory serves me correctly. She's 11 years old at the moment. Be turning 12 next year. Look at that very fat kitty. Be eating lots of impala. Any of you guys are new, her name, Karula, means the peaceful one. There we go, look at that, turning her head. She's got a very distinctive spot pattern which helps to identify her. In between her forehead, it almost spells out the word wow. And look at that, isn't that stunning? She is gorgeous. Hope you guys are getting some great screenshots. Remember, if you are taking screenshots, share them with us. Pop them on the Safari Live Facebook page, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And any of you new wondering what that clicking is, that's my camera getting my screenshot. Isn't she gorgeous? You can always see the light dancing off her eyes. So as I mentioned earlier, we don't shine spotlights on the diurnal animals. I can hear Pete the pond hippo splashing around a little bit next to us. But nocturnal animals, their eyes are designed differently, so the spotlights don't affect them. So, like we have individual fingerprints, each individual leopard doesn't have the same spots, and our rag is wondering, do they have a unique spot pattern? They do, but unfortunately there's so many spots that sometimes it makes it very difficult. So the most identifiable sort of spot pattern on leopards is the first line of spots above the whiskers. Karula is quite a unique case with that wow across her, in between her eyes. So she might rest around here for a little bit, but it's very probable she'll head back towards that impala carcass hanging in the tree. She just came down here for a drink. And it's a strong possibility she might finish with the remnants tonight, so we might have to be out tracking bright and early tomorrow morning. See if we can locate it. Or locate her again. It is so great having her back around. She has been relatively absent for the last while. What a beautiful evening. So we're going to pop across to Jamie so she can say goodnight, and then we'll be back with Karula the Queen for the last few minutes of the show.
And I just want to say a big thank you to you all for joining me on what has been a truly enjoyable and actually quite peaceful sunset safari. I've had an absolutely wonderful time, and I hope that you say a big thank you to Vian, the wildebeest, on camera, as well as Brent and all of his sterling work on the other vehicle. And as always, a big thanks for your questions and comments. We love to hear from you. So have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening, and spend your last few moments of the sunset safari with the Queen of Djuma.
Welcome back for the last sort of minute or so of the show. Isn't it fantastic to end off with a magnificent leopard like Karula? It's been such a great afternoon. We've seen so much. The first baby impala of the season. And what a way to start on the sunrise safari. We started with Karula, and now on the sunset safari we're ending with Karula. And the first baby impala seen on Djuma of this rainy season, and this morning the first woodlands kingfisher that we've managed to get on the camera. We've heard them, but we haven't managed, and they've been on the Djuma cam, but we haven't managed to get them on the live safaris, and Scotty managed to get one today. First impala lamb. So what a fantastic day. The light this evening was absolutely incredible, and those hippos and those goslings at Buffels Hook Waterhole. Just another ridiculously tough day in the office for us here at the WildEarth crew. And from everyone here at Safari Live, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to join us for the sunrise safari, and we will see you bright and early. Hopefully we can start off with a leopard again tomorrow. If not, we'll be on the tracks.